Hello and a very warm welcome back to Hugh's Nursery, and we've got quite a cool video today because some of you might know Liz Zorab from By the Farm, and firstly congratulations to her, she's just passed 10,000 subscribers. We've done some videos together before. Now she created this really awesome collaboration maybe a month or two ago called Grow a Gift 2019, with the idea of growing something in your garden, whether it's one plant or many plants, to help someone who's in an unfortunate situation this Christmas. So for example, donating it to a homeless food charity who are going to be cooking a Christmas meal and growing some veg for that. So I think there's a really nice message behind it. So I'm going to donate a whole bed, and we're going to be growing a load of different things. Firstly, potatoes, because there are so many ways you can have potatoes at Christmas, but you've got to have some potatoes. And then what we're going to be doing is growing some leeks, because we are in Wales and we always like to have caramelised leeks at Christmas. And then we've got some beetroot, so we've just got some bulk hardy beetroot, and we've also got carrots and swede. Now as well, we're going to be growing brassicas. Now this bed is actually the seed bed for brassicas for the main garden, and some of those brassicas are Brussels sprouts. So we're also going to be growing Brussels sprouts here as well, of course, because a Christmas meal without Brussels sprouts is just a Sunday lunch really, with some turkey. So what we're going to do is I'm going to use these bits of bamboo just so you can see how I've split up the sections in a bit more detail. And we've got 6 seed potatoes here, and what I need is kind of a foot between each one. And I also need to think, when these mature and grow, are they going to impact the next thing that's growing, which is going to be leeks. And these are leeks which I've already sown, and you can see they're coming through nicely. So I'm going to have a single row of leeks. Then we'll move on to the next section, which is beetroot and carrots. And even though these will probably be picked before Christmas, even though they do store well in the soil, it depends with what might happen, because last year we had mouse problems with beetroot because it was so dry. So those can store quite well. But we're going to have a couple of rows of beetroot and carrots, so that should be about enough. And then of course swede, mashed swede at Christmas is fantastic. So hopefully I'll be able to do a row or two of swede. So let's begin with the potatoes. So I'm not going to worry about the other parts at the moment, because I'm just going to do a bit of digging for these potatoes. Now what I have underneath, I've just put on a bit more compost because it's a bit low level here. But what I have underneath is kind of a 50-50 mix of soil and compost, so there's plenty of fertility in this. But what I'm going to do is create 2 trenches, and you can grow them however you wish, but this is one of the 3 ways we grow potatoes here. And we always do 1 trench at a time, because if you're going to start doing 2 trenches, then as you're digging 1 trench you'll be accidentally filling in another trench. It's a bit of a pain. So I think just focus on 1. And usually you'll do a trench for a much bigger planting, so usually when I'm growing potatoes it's along the length, but because we're trying to fit a lot into this bed, we're going to do it widthways instead. So the depth needs to be about 10 to 15 centimetres, so 5 to 7 inches. And then we're going to have 3 seed potatoes, so I'll put 1 there, another one in the middle, and I'm going to reach over and put another one there. So these should have enough time to grow, and especially because they're main crop, I'm hoping that they're going to have enough space to really develop strongly, and hopefully they won't get hit early by blight, so we can get some quite heavy crops. So I'm going to push the soil back over these, and on that one as well. As you can see, you don't really need to be a perfectionist about this. As long as they're covered, that's fine. So that's marking the first row. We then want about a foot or so, so just over 30 centimetres between the rows. And I'm going to dig the next trench, just using my eyesight to create a long line. And you can see, a good thing I didn't actually transplant these leeks ready, because they'd be buried with all this. And these potatoes will also be earthed up probably around May or June time, because I'm planting these a bit late, but it should be fine. But we will come round to hilling them up. So again, another 3, one there, and another one at the end, and fill it back in. Now I'm just going to get a rake to make sure it's all even, and we're then going to move on to the leeks. So we've got the 2 rows of potatoes planted. The second row is around about here, and I just want to leave enough space for the foliage to not impact on the growth of the next thing, which is going to be these leeks. Now these are going to be a bit awkward to get out, so I'm just going to kind of tap underneath, and you can see the roots, and just kind of pull it apart, and wow, came apart a bit easier, maybe because I'm using Dalefoot compost, which is wool and bracken, and it's such a beautiful thing to work with. So we've got a leek there. I'm just going to use another bit of bamboo just to help be a visual guide. And I've got a dibber, so I'm going to go exactly along the centre between these 2 bamboo sticks. So put that down, then get the leek seedling, and then drop it in like that, and that's all you need to do. I actually leave the holes because it's going to help get moisture in, and what I'll do is actually water these in, which will help fill it in a bit more. So I'm just going to leave kind of a 4 to 5 inch gap, so maybe about 10 centimetres in between each one. Create the next hole. There's the next seedling. Drop it in. Sorted. I'm just going to repeat that. I think I can fit 1 more in here, and hopefully 3 or 4 more on the other side. And now to give these a water. The next section is going to be the beetroot and the carrots. What I'm just going to do quickly is kind of give it a tilth, which just means getting rid of any of the larger bits so it's easier to work with. So just going to pull these in, move the seeds out of the way. You can see it just captures any stones and bigger clumps, which we can tidy up a bit later. And then what I'm going to do is use the end of the rake, and you can see there's a worm just there. Use the end of the rake and make a trench, again just judging by eye, about 1 to 2 centimetres deep. It's going to be for beetroot. So that's the first trench, and then I'm going to leave about nearly a foot gap, so maybe about 25 centimetres in between for the next row, which is going to be carrots, and these can be sown slightly lighter, about a centimetre deep or so. Those are the beetroot seeds ready. Just going to grab a clump and sow them along the line. And then for the next row it's going to be the carrots. And I'm using a variety called Flyaway because they have a good carrot root fly tolerance, and unless we're growing carrots above 2 foot, which we're not quite here, then we do have quite a high probability of getting carrot root fly here, unfortunately. So those are the carrot seeds, and I'm going to just again pinch and sow. Now before I fill these in, I'm very forgetful, so I'm just going to make sure that I've labelled the rows. And one of the useful things about labelling is you at least know that there's something planted there. So I'm not being specific, I've just gone beetroot and carrot. Not worried too much about varieties. Then you just cover over with your hand the row, like that. And then I'll come back to the other side. It's just the same with the carrots. Just cover over, and by creating a tilth, it means it's a lot easier to work with. And I'll repeat the same on the other side. And the final thing to do is to welcome them to their new home. And like I did with the leeks, give them a nice watering so they can get ahead and start germinating. And something really important about carrots is for a good germination rate, you've got to make sure that the soil doesn't really dry out. So I might be using the plank method, where I got the idea from James Prigioni, using the plank method to help keep that evaporation in, to make sure that they do germinate well. So the fifth vegetable I'm putting in here is going to be the swede. So again, I just need to compensate for when the carrots grow, just how much space they need before the next batch. And I used to sow 2 rows of swede, which will probably take us up kind of to about here in terms of the brassicas, and then that's going to be a nice space for the Brussels sprouts, or if I want to add something else last minute. So exactly the same as we did for the beetroot and the carrots. Just going to make a couple of trenches, this time about 2 centimetres deep, so slightly deeper like for the beetroot. Now something you can do, I've got one here, is you can get a stick, or 2 sticks, or a stick and break it in half, 2 bits of string, and make it exactly the width of the bed, or you can just roll and unroll, so you can use it for different size beds to make a perfectly straight line. So if you're really into keeping things as straight as possible, then that's something you can really easily make in just a matter of seconds. So there's the first row, and I'm just going to bring the second one in about there, and again I'm going to sow them in the exact same method. And if too many seedlings come up, I can always thin them out. I'll probably thin them to about 1 really strong seedling per 3 inches, so per 7 to 8 centimetres. Swedes, the seeds look just like any other brassicas. They can stay viable for about 4 years if you're keeping them in normal conditions. So again, just like pinch of salt, I'm going to take them up the row. And again, like before with the root veg, we're just going to cover it over very lightly and water them in. And there we have, including the Brussels sprouts, at least 6 vegetables which can grow, and you know, something might fail. For example, the beetroot might fail or get completely hit by pests. But anything that you grow which you can donate, I think is such a wonderful thing. So I really encourage you to get involved with this. Grow a Gift 2019. I want to thank Liz Zorab again for creating such a valuable collaboration idea. And for example, if you just have a balcony or something, what you could do is just grow some potatoes in a container and donate those. And I think something like that is very easy. So no matter what size or space that you have, even if you grow a leek or a parsnip, and you know, I might even put some parsnips in here as well. I mean, there's enough space there. I might do that after filming. But hopefully you've got an idea that there's a huge range of vegetables which you can grow for a Christmas meal for people who don't have a home. So choose your favourite, or choose one which you know grows really well, and it's as easy as that. So let me know what you're going to grow for Grow a Gift 2019 down below in the comments section, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.